Welcome back again to another episode of Razing the Baa. We are now 31 episodes into this Let's Play of Might and Magic 6, and we still have a long way to go, so we're just going to rush right along with it. We're currently on the Frozen Highlands map still. We left off at Castle Stromgard in the previous episode. We've walked a short distance and killed some humans and some harpies, which existed to keep the roads safe. But it's been overrun by ogres and bandits since then. His two promotion quests that he gave us at the end of the last episode. It's a fairly straightforward dungeon, this. There's no particular difficulty. There are two large doors that are both opened by a lever at the end of the two branches of the main corridor and dungeon. They are, however, free loot, free XP, and we're of course going to do that. One thing that I haven't talked about around this game yet, kind of amazing to me that there are still things that I haven't talked about 31 episodes in, but there are, is the package special edition. Myself, I don't have it anymore. The basic, the sort of standard edition was just a disc and a manual, and I played 6 at the time. It's only more recently that I've had even loaded up the Might and Magic 1 through 5, and I've never completed any of those. But they were on a second CD in the thing. In both the American and British edition also, the CDs themselves had a hologram on the front. This is something that you see occasionally on promotional things, but it's the only time I remember that a game ever had that. Of course, there are probably other examples that I'm not aware of. That was, I'll try and cut out light armor or something, sword and shield, I think. There aren't really any sort of named characters in this that have distinctive appearances anyway, so it just kind of seemed like a generic miniature that I'm not even 100% sure had any relation to the game itself. It could well have been that they just bought this sort of pack-in object to give away with a special edition just on the open market. It didn't seem very Might and Magic specific to me, but I could be wrong. If you know who that character was supposed to be, do leave me a comment, please, because I would love to know if there is any more meaning behind it than that. Throne room full of ogres and stuff. Of course, we're going to use the exactly same tactic here as we have in the other rooms with the hordes of things that came flowing out there, which is purely just draw them off one or two at a time, and we will skip over that. So the really the highlight of me, and probably the other cool thing, the holographic CDs were it has to be said, pretty awesome. They had a big dragon head on. They were proper holograms as well, not just like the sort of reflective, colourful, iridescent thing that you sometimes see as like cold holograms that are really just fake. But yeah, was it worth the extra for that? Well, probably not, unless you're a collector. I know there are some out there, maybe even some watching this. But I've never really been obsessed with like boxes full of tat myself. I do enjoy a good, a high quality pack-in, but for the most part, the little what do they call, feelies? Is that the Infocom term for things that, like the things that they used to put in boxes, the actual physical artifacts? I don't know. Not really obsessed with all that stuff, and I certainly won't pay more for it for the most part. Here's the treasure room. It was a secret door that was opened by a lever on the arm of the throne. Not exactly a well-hidden one. We have 4 chests here and some really nice stuff. We have a Ring of the Stars there, plus 10 to endurance and agility, and a really nice set of plate armor. Now we're running into the situation here which really plagues the mid and late game. in Might and Magic 6, which is inventory Tetris, unfortunately. Not the funnest of things, but this is something that a lot of games used to do. They used to give you a finite inventory grid, and we've got a letter there saying that these are Dragon Tower keys. The people who had stolen these were going to use them to shut down items that take up various different sizes of an inventory space. So inevitably you end up doing this. You end up shuffling objects around to try and make the right sized hole for something that you want to pick up. It was that people were including in games. Even really good games suffered from this